Let's go. We're going to go a few steps back because Shimon stopped in the middle of the Gemara, so we're going to go back to 4b2, a few lines back. Amar Abaye, 4b2, the last paragraph on 4b2, on the end of Dalet and Beis, we're asking the question: where do we know that there is a prohibition against eating that we have to burn the chametz on Erev Pesach? Okay, and so today we're really going to be focused on a lot of different drashas, a number of different interpretations, how we know that the chametz is burnt on Erev Pesach. Okay, that's going to be our entire focus today. Amar Abaye gives an answer like this. There are two psukim that are written. One pasuk says for a 7-day period, leaven should not be found in your home. And there's another pasuk that says on the first day you should eliminate leaven from your home. Again, leaven, by the way, we're going to keep on coming to these terms. Chametz is bread. Leaven is the agent that causes things to become chametz. So like yeast. Something which is the trigger for it, okay? So, but they're both forbidden. Leaven and chametz, they're both forbidden, but sometimes you'll find the term leaven in this context, and sometimes the term chametz. Bottom line is the pasuk says you cannot have chametz for all 7 days, and then it says you have to destroy it on the first day. Well, that doesn't make any sense, because if you can't have it around on all 7 days, how do you destroy it on the first day? It wasn't supposed to be there to begin with. If you can't have chametz for all 7 days, where's the chametz you're destroying on day number 1? Right? You're with me on the question, right? So the Gemara says, how does this work? It must be that Ach b'yom harishon, the first day, is actually not referring to the first day of Pesach, but rather b'yom harishon refers to the day before Pesach. And now the way to read the Pesachim is as follows. For 7 days, there shall not be any chametz, any leaven, and on the first day, i.e. the day before Pesach, you destroy the chametz. Okay? Says the Gemara, wait a second, Ve'im l'rabos 4b3, Ve'im l'rabos leile chamishas l'bir. Maybe it's coming to include the night of the 15th for destruction. So you have the first pasuk just said you can't have chametz for 7 days. Now maybe it only means that it's forbidden to have chametz on the daytime, but maybe the night before, the 15th, meaning the first day of Pesach, maybe that first pasuk of 7 days there should not be chametz is only coming to prohibit chametz on the 7 days of Pesach, starting in the daytime, as it says Yom, and therefore the destruction of the chametz, you need that second pasuk to say on the first day, i.e. the night of the 15th, the first night of Pesach, that's when you destroy the chametz. Yeah. So the Gemara says because again the pasuk said Yamim, days. So the Gemara says no, kamash malan afilu leilos, and therefore that second pasuk is coming to teach you that it is prohibited to have chametz on the night of Pesach, and therefore, according to this, we would not have a pasuk vacant or available to teach us that chametz has to be burnt on the day before. So the Gemara says no, you don't need this pasuk to teach me that chametz is forbidden on the night of Pesach. 5a1. Okay, so here we're going to have something called basically juxtaposition, a hekesh, where you have concepts which are listed side by side. Okay, so you have, let's say, two concepts listed in one place, and one of those, and then you have concept A and concept B, and then concept B and concept C are taught somewhere else, and concept C and concept D are taught someone else. And what we basically, it is one of the modalities that we learn things in the Torah, or Chazal learn things, is that we're going to be, if A and B, and then B and C, and then C and D, A, B, C, D could all have the same principle, underlying principle, the fact that they are all juxtaposed to one another. Got it? A and B in one place, B and C in another, C and D, we're going to be able to say A and D are actually going to have similar properties. Okay? So your says like this, we have the commandment to eliminate leaven next to the prohibition against eating chametz, and that's A and B. And you have B and C, you have the prohibition against eating chametz, which is juxtaposed to eating matzah. Okay, and we know when is the mitzvah of eating matzah? When is the real mitzvah of eating matzah? The night. And if the mitzvah of eating matzah is at night, then that means that the destroying of chametz, which was A, is also going to be a night. And if that's the case, then don't tell me, like you just tried arguing, that the second pasuk is needed to tell me that you cannot have chametz at night. No, we already know that from this limud that we're about to unpack in a moment, and therefore we're going back to what Rav was trying to argue, and that is that second pasuk is teaching me that the burning, destruction of chametz takes place on Erev Pesach. Now we're first going to just unpack this. Hashvas asar lachilas chametz. Where do we see that eliminating leaven is compared to the prohibition of eating chametz? T'chsiv shivas yamim arli matzav vatechem. The pasuk says leaven should not be found in your home, and then it continues kikol ochel machmetzes mechrasa. Anyone who eats chametz will be cut off. So you see A and B. Leaven, destruction, and eating chametz. V'achilas chametz, l'achilat matzah. And you see a juxtaposition between eating chametz and eating matzah. The chsiv, as the pasuk says, kol machmetzes lo sochil, you shouldn't eat chametz. And the pasuk continues, b'chol moshva seichem tochlu matzos. In all your dwellings, you should eat matzah. Okay, chsiv be'ba matzah, and it says, matzah be'erev tochlu matzos. We know the mitzvah of eating matzah takes place in the evening. Okay, it says the Gemara, ve'emel rabos leil arba aslavir. Okay, so now that you've established that second pasuk is teaching me that the destruction of chametz takes place on the day before Pesach. But how do you know when? Maybe the burning of chametz should take place in the evening of the 14th, meaning instead of having that big burning at Pimlico on midday on Erev Pesach, maybe the pasuk, all we now know is that B'Yom Rishon means the day before Pesach. Okay, you have to burn the chametz. But when during the day? If it says maybe you should do it the night before. So the Gemara says, no, that can't be B'Yom Ksiv. The pasuk says on the day. The day means daytime. And therefore the destruction of the chametz cannot be in the night before, it must be in the day. The Gemara says, Ve'em mitzafra. Fine. So say it's from the first thing in the morning. Imagine, on Erev Pesach, we should go running from the Siyum, running to Shul, running to Pimlico, running to... Oh, we're not going to do it there anymore, right? It's a construction site. Whatever. Okay, fine. We'll find out. Okay. Bottom line, right? They just demolished. Okay. Fine. So the bottom line is that the pasuk, all we've now established is that the day before Pesach is when you have to burn the chametz. So we said it can't be night because the pasuk says day. But if it says day, maybe it means the morning. How do you know it's the middle of the day? Ach chilek. The opening line of that pasuk is ach beyom. However, now that word ach is a little bit extra. Why do we say however? It's not needed. And whenever you see the word ach, the Gemara tells us in a number of places, ach means to divide. And therefore what comes out is that ach b'yom rishon on the first day, but ach says it's divided, and therefore the time that we burn the chametz is in the division of the first day. What's the division of the first day? Midday. And that is the halacha. We burn the chametz in the middle of the first day. Okay, now the Gemara is going to show us other places where the first refers to Erev. Devei Rabbi Shmuel Tana was taught in the base marriage of Rabbi Shmuel. Matzino Arba Asar Shnik Rabbi Shon. We see another place where the 14th is called first. In other words, right, this is really a little bit novel when you think about it, how we're learning that we burn the chametz on the first day. Because really the pasuk says on the first day. If you're talking about on the first day in the context of Pesach, first day means on the first day of Pesach, Yom Rishon Shel Chag, on the first day of the Yom Tov. So Rabbi Shmuel wants to point out, in the base marriage of Rabbi Shmuel, they point out that Yom Rishon, there's other place where you see it really means Erev Pesach. Where do you see that? Shenemar, the pasuk says, Barishon Barba Asar Yom Lachodesh. Now this is really also not so clear because this is a bit of a novelty. Really, Barishon in this pasuk really means the first month. Nisan is actually the first month. But he's learning that no, since normally whenever it talks about the months, it says B'chodesh Harishon, B'chodesh Hasheni. And therefore he's learning the pasuk to read like this. Barishon on the first, which is Ba'arba Asar Yom Lachodesh, which is the 14th day of the month. The way he reads that pasuk is Barishon means on the first, which means the 14th of the month. So he says, look, you have a source that says the first actually means the 14th and not the first day of Pesach, which is the 15th, rather means Erev, the Eve, okay? Now, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Amar, he gives another reason why the first should be understood as the Erev Pesach. Rishon to Meikara Mashma. The term first actually implies prior, meaning the day before, and not the first. Where do you see that? The pasuk says in Eov, Harishon Adam Tivalid. God addresses Eov and says, were you born before Adam? Were you born before Adam? So you see Harishon there, it doesn't mean first, rather Rishon means before. Once again, you have this concept, so he's trying to prove that the word harishon actually means before. Says the Gemara, wait a second, if you're going to tell me every harishon means the day before, let me quote you a bunch of psukim. First of all, it says, take the lulav and esrog on the first day. Does that mean the eve of Sukkot? No, we know that's not true. Hachanam Rishon Mikara Mashma does mean the day before. So the Gemara says no. Shani Hasam Nechsivus Machma Hashem Kacham Shivas Yamim. The pasuk says you rejoice before Hashem for 7 days. Okay, Mashvi. The pasuk says the next pasuk says serve Hashem for 7 days. Okay, so Mashvi Shvi Lachag. Just like there, clearly the 7th is the 7th day of the Yom Tov. Af Rishon Lachag. So to the first refers to the first day of the Yom Tov. The Gemara says wait. Hachinam Iksiv. Here to by Pesach it says Ach B'Yom Rishon Tashbisu. It says on the first day you shall eliminate. And the same pasuk says Shivas Yam Matzah Sochelu, and 7 days you should participate with eat matzah. And just like the Shivas Yamim is clearly referring to Pesach, the 7th day of Pesach, so too Rishon should also mean the first day. It's really a parallel type of phrasing. So the Gemara says Imkei Nichtav Akra Rishon. If that's really by Pesach was really just trying to teach us the first day of the Yom Tov, it's just a B'Yom Rishon. Har Rishon Lamali. Why does it say Har Rishon? That extra hey, the first day implies we're talking about something different. Shema Min Alech Amran. It must be refers to Pesach Eve, Erev Pesach. The Gemara says, wait a second. Ihacha Yahachi Asam Nami. There too by Lulav, Harishon Lamali. Why does it say the first? By Lulav it also says Harishon. And further, Vesu, Hasam Nechsev Yam Harishon Shabbason, Yom Hashmini Shabbason, Em Harishon Mikar Mashma. The pasuk says by working on Sukkot, it's not just taking the Lulav and Esther, but also by working. It also there says the first. Harishon. So now we have a bunch of problems. If you want to tell me the word Harishon really means, by definition, Erev Pesach, And that's why we know, because it says Harishon. Well, guess what? By Sukkot, it also says Harishon in regards to shaking Lulav and Esrog. But no one shakes Lulav and Esrog on Erev Sukkot, right? And it also says Harishon in the context of not doing malacha, not doing work. It says Harishon. And you're not telling me it refers to not doing malacha, not doing work on Erev Sukkot.
Rabbi Shmuel is clearly not saying every time it's novel that Rishon doesn't mean the first day. He's just giving an example. He's giving an example of where Rishon may not mean the first day, and then because otherwise it doesn't make any sense. So what's the Gemara doing?
The Gemara is assuming, and the Gemara is actually going to stick with not like that. The Gemara is going to say no. You're right. We're going to have to justify every Harishon is going to have its own unique connotation. Okay, let's see. Shani Hasam, Damakra Yom Hashmini Shabbasom. The pasuk says. So no, the pasuk says that on the 8th day, it's different because when it comes to malacha, because it says on the 8th day you should rest. Mashmini Shmini Chag, Af Rishon Rishon Chag, and therefore the Rishon that's in that pasuk also refers to that you should not work on the 1st and the 8th day of Sukkot, right? The 1st and 8th day of Sukkot, biblically, we have 9 days of Sukkot because we live outside of Israel. But on the 1st and 8th day, it says don't work. So Harishon Lamali, why does it say the first? Lemaiute, whenever it says the, usually when I say, if it's like I say table or I say the table means there's something special about this one. I'm excluding from other things. So the pasuk says day 8 and day 1 about not doing malacha. And then it says the day 1. What's it coming to exclude? To tell me that I'm allowed to work, at least biblically, on Chol Hamoed. Okay, the Chol Hamoed, at least biblically, I'm allowed to do malacha. Ask the Gemara, Chulo, Shemon, Merishon, Shmini, Nafka. We already know that I would not, what do you mean? Why do I need ha, the letter hey, the, to come exclude Chol Hamoed? We already know you can't do work. You already know that you could do work on Chol Hamoed because it says on the 1st and the 8th you can't do work. Implication, in the middle, you could do work. So why do I need hey? As the Gemara says, Istrich, so the pasuk says, and on the 8th day. It should have just said Vayom Hashmini, the 8th day. Vav most of Alina Rishon. The pasuk, the word Vav saying and on the 8th day is adding. So what is it adding? Dafilu Chol Shamayid. That maybe you would think it says and on the 1st day and on the 8th day don't do work. The fact that it says and on the 8th day, it doesn't just say 8th day, implies that there's something adding on to the 8th day, and meaning on Chol Hamoed you also went into work. Kamash Malan, the word hey says the 1st day to exclude and saying, oh, you could do work on Chol Hamoed. Now he's going to ask the question that you're all about to ask. Make it simple. Don't say the word and on the 8th day. Just skip that vav, and then you don't have to add the hey of the 1st day. So the Gemara says, Rishon Mikara Mashma. Okay, and by Pesach, when it comes to malacha, it says by Yom Rishon Kodesh Yelachem Rishon Meikara Mashma. When it says you shouldn't do work on the 1st day of Pesach, does it mean that you shouldn't do work on Erev Pesach? So the Gemara says no. Okay, drop the whole thing. Elahani Shlosha Rishon B'Baile, and this goes to Ezra's question. Really, we're saying no. Every time it says Rishon, we're going to have to explain and justify, or Rishon, we're going to have to justify. L'chadatan Rishmal taught in his base parish as follows: Tanav Rishmal B'Schar Shlosha Rishon, in the merit of 3 firsts. Zachu l'shlosha rishon. The Jewish people merit 3 firsts. What are those? So the 3 we'll match them in a moment. Lahachri zar shel Esav. That's in merit of one of the first. We'll merit to eradicate the offspring of Esav, meaning our enemies will be eradicated. Levinyan beis hamikdash, the construction of the beis hamikdash. V'lishmo shel Mashiach, and the name of Mashiach. Okay, what does this mean? Let's see. Lahachris zar shel Esav, to destroy the offspring of Esav. And Rashi, the Marsha, explains that this is a reference to that but the pasuk that says don't work on Pesach, which refers to the 1st day of Pesach. Pesach is a holiday that we celebrate our overcoming our enemies, and if we celebrate Pesach properly, then we merit to overcome our enemies. And Esav is referred to the first. Where do we see that? Harishon Admoni Kula Kader Ser. In the birth of Esav, refers to him as Harishon the first. Okay, Ulavini Beis Hamikdash and Sukkot, which is the celebration of Sukkot and observing Sukkot, we merit that we will have the rebuilding the Beis Hamikdash. The holiday of Sukkot, that structure we have outside, is symbolically reflecting and representing the Beis Hamikdash, because the pasuk says Chsiv Kisei Kamamar Me Rishon Makom Mikdashenu, and so it refers to the Beis Hamikdash as Rishon. V'lishmo shel Mashiach, and the name of Mashiach. The Marsha says, what do you mean the name? Why not just Mashiach? Because what is the name Mashiach according to our sages? The name Mashiach is Menachem. Menachem means comfort. It means you'll have comfort. And the parallel to this one is the shaking a lulav and esrog. If a person shakes a lulav and esrog with joy, then they merit the comfort of Mashiach Tichsiv Rishon Tzion Hine Hinam. The first of Tzion, behold, they are here. A reference to Mashiach. Okay, so basically those three Rishons are taken care of, and therefore the only Rishon we really have to deal with is the Rishon that we have Rishon by destroying Chametz, and as we've suggested that as we see by Eov, that means the day before, but only that Harishon is extra because the other ones are going to be used for different exegesis for different drashas. Okay, another source to prove that Chametz is burnt on Erev Pesach. Rav Amri Hacharav says from here, Lo tishchad al Chametz dav sivchi. The pasuk says you shall not slaughter the Karban Pesach while in possession of Chametz. So what does that mean? When do they slaughter the Karban Pesach? Erev Pesach, lo tishchad Pesach v'dayin chametz kayam, which teaches us that you cannot slaughter Pesach, Karban Pesach, while chametz is still around. And when is the Karban Pesach allowed to be slaughtered? In the afternoon. You cannot slaughter the Karban Pesach until the afternoon, until midday. So too, chametz is destroyed at midday. Ask the Gemara v'emal kol chad v'chad ki shachit. Maybe that's going to be subjective, right? There are different groups. The Gemara tells us not everyone was able to slaughter their Karban Pesach at the same time, and different groups came in at different times. Maybe we'll see later. Maybe that each person, when you are ready to slaughter your Karban Pesach, that's when you have to get rid of your chametz. But not a universal time. The Gemara says, no, it's man shchitas amar Rachmana. The Torah is not talking about each person individually. The Gemara is telling us a defined time, and that is that since the Karban Pesach can be slaughtered from midday and on, similarly, you cannot have the Karban Pesach you cannot have chametz from midday and on. One last source, and then we're going to call it a day for this limud. Tanya namihachi, we taught in the brayso. Ach b'yom rishon tashbisu zrom v'teichem. Pasuk says on the first day you shall eliminate leaven from your homes. Me'erev Yom Tov. This refers to the eve of Yom Tov. Ask the Gemara, ask the brayso, ena ela b'Yom Tov atzmo. Maybe it's referring to get rid of the chametz on Yom Tov, and you don't do it before Yom Tov. Pasuk says no, because the pasuk says we just saw above, don't slaughter the Karban Pesach while in possession of chametz. This is the words of Rabbi Shmuel. Okay, so Rabbi Shmuel supports Rava's limud, his teaching. Rabbi Kiva says, he says you don't even need this. Pasuk says on the first day you shall eliminate leaven from your home. And you can't do any labor on the first day. And we know that kindling is a primary labor. Rabbi Kiva makes the following teaching. What are you allowed to do on Yom Tov? We can't do all malacha. You're only allowed to do malacha which serves a function of eating, ochel nefesh. I'm allowed to, cook on Shabbos, but I'm not allowed to just burn something. Yom Tov, excuse me, thank you. Yeah, but if let's say I have a bunch of papers that I want to shred, thank you. If I have, thank you for listening. If I have a bunch of papers that I want to shred, I can't burn them in a fire on Yom Tov because that's destroying. It's not for ochel nefesh, it's be a benefit that I'm getting right away, right? And therefore, what the Gemara is, so Rabbi Kiva is saying as follows. The pasuk says I can't do malacha on Yom Tov, on the first day, and it says destroy on the first day. You want to tell me it means literally destroying the first day? Can't be. Why? Because I would not be allowed to destroy chametz. That's not serving a ochel nefesh. That's not serving me as food. And therefore, it must be by definition that the first day does not mean literally on the first day. It must mean before. That's Rabbi Kiva's limud. We'll come. Okay. Says Rabbi Yossi Omer, Ein Atzarach. No, he says you don't need Rabbi Shmuel's drasha. You don't need Rabbi Kiva's drasha. Why? Rabbi Omer, Ach b'yom rishon sheshbisu zrom v'teichem. The pasuk says you shall eliminate leaven from your homes. Me'erev Yom Tov. The first means the eve of Yom Tov. Oh, en aliyah el Yom Tov. Maybe means on Yom Tov. Tam lomer ach chilek. The pasuk says ach, which means there is a division, like we saw earlier. Ach means that it's divided. It's not like it's not the whole day. You destroy the chametz in the middle of the day. Vibi Yom Tov atzman. If it's on Yom Tov itself, mishari, who would allow you to burn chametz for at least half the day? It doesn't make any sense. And we know that you can't have chametz the entire day. So in as much as I can't have chametz the entire day, and it says I destroyed the middle of the day, how would I be able to destroy the middle of the day? That would mean I'm able to have the chametz in the beginning part of the day? Can't be. It must be the first day. I'm actually going to go a tiny bit further because I think we have 40 seconds. Amar Rav, I'm sorry, I went a little bit quickly over here. This is all just drashas, I apologize. But Amar Rav says, Shmamina Rabbi Kiva Tzlas. So we're going to learn three things from Rabbi Kiva's limud. Shmamina Ein Bir Chametz El Sreifa. First of all, we learned the destruction of chametz is fulfilled only through burning. This is very important. Like we had last year. Are you allowed to burn chametz by flushing it down the toilet? Not so simple. According to Rabbi Kiva said that, he said the whole limud was since I'm only allowed to since burning can only be done on, it could be done, and I'm not allowed to burn on Yom Tov because it's not for ochel nefesh. Maybe you should just flush it or throw it in the air. The fact that he's saying it must be burnt, it sounds like, according to Rabbi Kiva, we'll come back to this later, don't worry, but according to Rabbi Kiva, it sounds like the only way you're allowed to do bir chametz is with burning. Okay, shmamina havara lechalik yatzas, and also there's machlokas elsewhere about whether or not burning is a malacha. Rabbi Kiva clearly is holding it as one of the 39 primary malachas. That's what he said. We do not say that since I'm allowed to burn something for eating, I therefore should allowed to make a fire for any purpose. We do not say that. He says, no, you're only allowed to do malachos that serve an ochel nefesh purpose, for a personal benefit. We don't say, oh, since I'm allowed to make a fire for food, I could also make a fire for something else. Rabbi Akiva is clearly telling us, no, I'm only allowed to make a fire for eating. I'm not allowed to make a fire to destroy my chametz. Have a great day.